All right, baby, let's freaking roll. All right, so we're going to talk about price financial objections. So you can use this framework for any version of a price or financial objection, except for I have to check my budget. Now, don't worry, we got you covered. All right, right here, I have to look at my budget. I'll go through that process for you. But any version of, it's too much money, I can't afford this, blah, 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 right? Any price financial objection, you can use this framework here. Okay. So let's go ahead. All right. As you guys know, rule number one is to agree. So, hey, totally understand, insert whatever they say. Let's just say it's too much money. Hey, totally understand if you think it's too much money. Cool if I ask you a couple questions, right? So that's line one. Very simple. Everyone can do it. All right. Now, line number two. Awesome. Is it still a priority for you to reach goals so you can? Why? All right. So once again, what are we doing? We're re-bringing up the emotion. We're also trying to unearth, and you'll see this in the next questions, not necessarily this question, but you'll see this in the next couple of questions. We're trying to see, is this an internal objection or is this really truly an external objection? Okay. But regardless of that, we're still connecting them emotionally to their why. So awesome. Hey, is it still a priority for you to lose these 100 pounds so that you can be a better mother? Right. Very simple question. We know we're going to get a yes there. Now, if they say no, which is highly, highly unlikely, right, then we're going to probe, figure out why, solve the concern, right? But it's literally probably never going to happen in your career because if you follow the discovery section of the script, right, we identify a scale of 1 to 10 how important it is then. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to say here, I figured, right? And kind of say it in like a joking term. Yeah, I know, I figured. And do you still believe that our program can 110% help you accomplish that goal? All right, so now we've re-brought up why, re-got them connected to their emotional reason for doing this, and then we've confirmed that the program is good. Okay. Now, if they say no, then once again, we need to probe and see what's missing or what they feel like they need. Usually, once again, it's just something that they missed and we just need to re-explain it. But after we've re-explained it, we want to tie it down by saying, cool, is there anything else you feel like you need? Are you confident that we can help you lose these 100 pounds, right? And by tying it down, I mean tying down that this is no longer a concern, right? We want them to say yes, that they are feeling confident. And once they do say yes to that, we say, great, so are we committing to this? Right? That would be an opportunity that we go for the commitment, like we've talked about, that not enough freaking coaches do. All right. So, okay, now we've gotten them to confirm that the program is exactly what they're looking for. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to say, great to hear, right? We're excited to hear. And after seeing everything, do you feel confident that you have the time for our program? Once again, we're trying to fish out. We're trying to see if there's any other problems here outside of money. Also, we're getting those soft commitments, right? They're saying yes, they're saying yes, they're saying yes, right? It's getting those soft commitments that are leading to the big commitment. Okay. Now, if they say no, all right, this is how we are going to handle that. All right. If they say yes, then we just go right down here. But let's go ahead and break down if they say no. Okay, so if they say no, we say, hey, no worries at all, but reaching goals still is a priority, right? We bring that up again, right? They say yes. And then you say, great. And are you willing to get resourceful with your time so we can help you lose these 100 pounds? Right now we're getting them in a resourceful state. We're just not doing it with money. We're doing it with their time. Okay. Now they say yes. We say, all right, so the minimum effective dose to be successful in our program is about 4 hours a week. Do you feel confident you can commit to 4 hours a week? All right. If they say no, then we say, hey, no worry. If they say yes, then great. We move on. It's not a problem anymore. Right. But if they say yes, if they say no, then we say no worries at all. Hey, let's see what we can do. All right. And now you have two options. Okay. So option one, if your program is truly customizable to somebody's time, then I'd break down their schedule. I'd see how much time they have, lay out how your program can fit into that, and then agree and commit, right? So I would say, hey, no worries. Let's figure out what you can do. All right, let's start with here. Kind of give me like, what does your schedule look like? If it's pretty consistent, you could just give me day in, day out. If it's a variety, just kind of give me an overall picture of the week. All right, cool. So like I said, we just need a couple hours to be successful. We're not asking for a ton here. Here's how I see we could fit it in. What do you think? Do you agree with that? Right? And then we get them to commit. Okay. Now, if your program is not customizable, right? It's a little bit more rigid, right? Then what I would do from there is I would break down their calendar, see where they are spending time that isn't serving them, get them to agree that replacing the time with this is more valuable, much like we would do in the budget objection, which is the next one that we're going to go over. All right, but I'll kind of role play that out and show you what that would look like. All right, no worries at all. Well, hey, kind of explain to me, like, what does your schedule look like? Like, what's a day in the life? Or you can go over a week as well. Either or is going to be helpful. Okay, awesome. So in a week, what I'm hearing is it sounds like you're spending about 2 to 3 hours a week with your guy friends. Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to challenge you here for a second. What do you think long term? What do you think is going to benefit your life more? Doing a program like this and losing the 100 pounds, or spending that 2 to 3 hours with your guy friends? Yeah, definitely. It's going to be losing the 100 pounds, right? Now, here's the cool thing. We don't need to give up friend. We don't need to give up friend time. I still want you to have that friend time. But if we were cutting back on that friend time, even just an hour, and replacing it with this, would you agree that that's going to be beneficial? Amazing, right? And then we go ahead and we move on from there. Okay, so those are your two options from there. Okay, so if they say they don't feel they have the time for this, that's how I would solve it. All right, now let's move on. So the next thing we want to confirm is their personal belief. This is where we could potentially suss out some fear. All right, so we've confirmed the program, we've confirmed the time. Now we need to confirm their own personal belief. So I would say, cool. And how about yourself? Like, do you feel 110% confident that you can accomplish this goal? And really what I mean by that is, like, there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no imposter syndrome, right? Or is there? Cool. Now, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to say no, they feel fully confident, or they're going to say that they have fear. And at that point, I would go specifically to, and this will, by the time that this is uploaded in the course, we'll have all the tabs for you guys, but I would specifically go to the find out that they are fearful section. And I would use one of the frameworks there. Okay. But let's assume that they say yes, they're fully confident they can accomplish this. All right, then I would say, let's go. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's just the finances holding you back. Is that right? All right, so what we've done so far is we confirmed everything. We've identified that it is legitimately just the finances. Now we know we have a true external objection, not an internal objection, and we can solve this more logistically. Okay, so the last thing we're going to say here is we're going to say amazing. If you have the drive, honestly, finances is the easiest part of my job. So are you open to getting resourceful with me? This way we can come up with a payment plan that's fair for you, but also fair for us. They say yes, and then I take them through the payment plan framework. Okay, the payment plan framework that we literally just went through a couple of videos ago. All right, we're gonna go right in. So basically how I'm gonna do these videos is if the two modules or if the two objections are similar, I'll just do it in the same video. Okay, so now we're going to go over, I have to look at my budget. So we just covered finances. It's too much money. I can't afford this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Now we're going to help. Now, if they say I have to check my budget, it's slightly different approach on how we handle that. Okay, so first, what's the first rule? Always agree. Hey, totally understand that you have to check your budget. Cool if I ask you a couple questions though? All right, they're going to say yes. All right, from there, we say, awesome. So just want to confirm, it's still a priority for you to lose these 100 pounds so you could be a better mother. Is that right? They say yes, right? I say, I figured. And you still believe that our program can 100%, 110% help you reach your goal? They say yes. All right, you see a pattern here, right? And then from here, right? Great to hear. And after seeing everything, you feel confident you have the time, right? Then we ask the imposter syndrome, the fear question, right? So all the same questions that we just went through, right? Then from there, let's go. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's legitimately you just have to check your budget, all right? So everything up until this point is the same as the financial objection that we just went through, okay? This is where it actually gets different, right? So we've confirmed and isolated that it is simply that they just need to check their budget. Okay, this is where, and now it's an external objection, not an internal objection. So you're going to see that the way that we solve this is very logical. All right. So this is what we're going to say. All right. Tonality has to be good here. All right, so I'm gonna give it my best shot. All right, amazing. So look, I've done this with plenty of clients before, but I can actually walk you through your budget and we can see if this makes sense. And if it ends up not making sense, hey, no pressure at all. Does that sound fair? Does that sound fair to you? They say yes. All right. So if you can hear it in my tonality when I went through that, I'm saying it very nonchalant. Okay. You want to make it nonchalant. You also want to say that you've done this for plenty of clients before. Why? People want to do what other people have already done. So nonchalant, people have already done this. Okay. If you say it any other way, you're probably going to get a no there. All right. But if you say it the right way, nonchalant, repetition, repetition, you'll get good at it. You're going to get a yes. Okay. Now from here, here's what you're going to do. Okay. You're going to ask them to take out a paper and pen. Then you're going to ask them what they're, or actually, sorry, you're not going to have them take out paper and pen. You're going to take out paper and pen. You as the coach, you as the closer are going to take out paper and pen. You're going to say, all right, well, hey, let's break this down. Let me just grab my paper and pen. Cool. So, let's go through your expenses. All right. And you can guide them here, right? And by guiding them, I would say, all right, so let's start. What's your mortgage look like or your rent? All right. And what about your card note? Okay. And, what about, groceries? What about, your phone? Any other major expenses I'm missing, right? And just go through the list, writing down line item by line item what their expenses are. All right, once you've maxed out, you have a rough outline of their expenses, then you're going to ask them what their income is. All right. And from here, you can see what's left over, right? So, all right, cool. Now let's go ahead. What's your income? All right, amazing. So you have $6,000 of income and $3,000 of expenses. Does that sound about right? Awesome. All right, now from there, once we have that information, we can say this. We can say, hey, I understand. So just to be clear and to be honest with you, it's likely that you will look at your budget and not be able to afford this. Hold on, let me read that. That came out really weird. I understand, just so I'm clear, and be honest with me. Oh, okay. That was really out of place. I was wondering why that is there. Hold on. I think I need to fix something in the way I wrote this. All right, that's totally my bad. I just forgot to write this here. All right, so let's just go through that. I don't want to cause any confusion. But once again, this is going to be the exercise. So if they say yes, and I'll actually put that there. If they say yes to the exercise. Okay. Now, if they say yes to the exercise, you do this, everything I've already explained. If they say no, that they don't want to do the exercise, then you say this. Okay. So what you're going to say if they say, you know what, I actually don't feel comfortable doing that, I would say, hey, look, I totally understand. Just so I'm clear and just level with me. Is it likely that when you go to look at your budget, you're probably not going to be able to afford this? They're probably going to say yes to that. And then I would go immediately to the downsell script. Okay. So that's what you're going to do. If they say no, they don't feel comfortable doing this exercise. This is what you do if they say yes, they do feel comfortable with the exercise. Okay. Now, assuming they've said yes. All right. Now we move on to H, which is the next section after you've gone through the exercise. Okay. So you're going to say, awesome. So with that, you have left. So with what you have left over, I feel really confident I can make a payment plan that's fair for you and also fair for us. Are you open to getting resourceful and figuring this out so we could reach goal once and for all? All right. So that's what you're going to say. So now you have the information. You know what is left over. All right. You're going to say you feel confident that you can make a payment plan that's fair for them, fair for you. Are you open to getting resourceful so we can reach this goal once and for all? All right, from there, you're going to go through the payment plan script options, or you could jump right to the downsell if you don't feel like they can afford very much. All right, couple of notes here. So if you see they are spending money on unnecessary items, that if they got rid of that unnecessary items, that they could afford your program instead of the downsell, then this is what I would say. All right, I would say awesome. So I know that reaching goal is really important for you. Would you agree that if we cut back on XYZ and replaced it with this program instead, that it would add more value to your life? Right. So the way that I would say that, just going through it one more time, is I would say, hey, look, after going through that, I know losing these 100 pounds is really important to you. I know in your budget, it looks like you're spending about 500 bucks a week on going out to eat. Would you agree that if we, replace that or reduce that with this program, that, this program is probably going to add a lot more value to your life than the 500 bucks you're spending on eating out? Is that a fair statement? They're going to say yes to that. All right, and what I just went through is like how I would say it more naturally, right? I've been reading these word for word because I want you to, understand what it's supposed to look like. But I also want to share my natural tone with you guys because as you rep these more and more and more, right, like you're gonna develop your own natural way of saying this. Okay. Now, they're obviously going to say yes to that. So what we say from here is great. So with that, I feel really confident I can make a payment plan that's fair for you and fair for us. Are you open to getting resourceful so we can figure this out and help you reach goal once and for all? All right, the very same statement there. And then from there, you figure out the payment plan, right? Once you figure out the payment plan, what do? Are we committing to this? All right, so sorry for the confusion in the middle of the video there. Hopefully I cleared that up. Basically what the confusion was, just to recap it again, I like to be extra, extra thorough, is if they do not want to do the exercise, then you say this. If they do want to do the exercise, then you say this.